Glasses on, glasses off. Glasses on. I feel like the glass is off. All right, so hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alvina. I am a licensed therapist, and today we are talking or getting into mental health and plant care. I know I have my own personal experience with having plants and the story that I have on why I started to start up my plant collection. I'll talk through, some of the easy plants, what I've learned along the way. If you're thinking of getting into plants, you're thinking of having something to just help with improving how you feel, this is the video for you. I give a few tips, not that much because I'm still a beginner, but if you want to hear more about everything, just go ahead and tune in. You can see that I am sitting in front of a few of my plants, and then I have some other ones spread out throughout my house, and I feel like I have a video that I will share when I talk about each one. So, and then I also have my hair out today, got a little puff going on. If you have natural hair, I wonder if I should give it a name. If you have natural hair, do you have a name for your plant or for your hair, your do? I don't have one yet, but I know maybe I should, the summer, it's getting warmer, trying to have my hair out. Okay, anyways, so I guess getting into, first, my story on why I got into plants. I think for me, I've always thought of plants as something that I could never do, never had a green thumb. It was always nice watching people and seeing their experience with having nice plants around their home and being able to take care of it, but it never was something that I shifted to, or it was always a thought. But a few years back, I got my first plant, an orchid. It was from, at that time, it was the person I was dating, an ex now. But for me, the reason why I started was because, having plants there's so many benefits of having plants around. There's benefits of having other stuff around, but just the benefit of having plants around, for me, it was, I'm in a situation where it was not healthy. It was not an environment that I was happy about. And so having something that needed me, that needed me to give it the water it needed to grow, having something that needed me to put it in a place where the lighting was just right, making sure it wasn't burning the leaves, making sure it could bloom in the right way. I think for me, it really gave me a sense of purpose. As much chaos was going on around me, I think for me, the plant kept me a bit grounded. And so it was the best gift that somebody could give me around that time. But also it has helped in just building up, it's built up something in me that feels good. I'm very happy about my collection. I am happy about being a plant mom. I'm happy every time I see my plants and seeing them grow. I will talk more about like my routine and how I just get into the process. But for me, it just came at a time where I was in an unhealthy space, and that was something that I had some control over. That was something that I looked forward to as far as my happiness in that moment. And it was in a time where, I didn't have my family around, just because I was fairly new to, I feel like I say fairly new. I've been living in another state, for a few years. And so I think for me that was something that was helpful in just just keeping me going and keeping me motivated. And I don't know if, other people and what your stories have been. If you do have plants, please share, because I know we all get into certain things, certain hobbies that we have for certain reasons. But for me, it was not being in a good space and just having something that I felt was giving me what I needed. Because every morning, regardless of how the day was or how the night was, like I got up to go see what that plant looked like, because of and it just the color. It was a very nice purple, dark purple color. It's no longer with me because I thought I was like playing with the big dogs, and I was like, okay, I have this under control. Let me repot it. That was a bad idea. And I'll go into repotting a little bit and just my stories with repotting some of the plants that I do get. But so having an orchid was the first thing. And then, from there, once the relationship ended and I was in that process of healing, dating myself, getting to know what I liked, learning about this past relationship, learning what I could do a little bit better. Within that process, I decided to get more plants. And there have been studies with plants and just having indoor plants. It's helpful in just reducing stress. It's helpful in just improving your productivity, and also with just, plants and what they're known for, and just purifying your air, helping with humidity in your space. It's also something that, studies have shown that people with the indoor plants, especially at work, they're less sick, less physical symptoms. Also, you're able to recover from your illnesses a little bit quicker. This is what the studies have shown. So yes, and in my time of healing, I decided to get more plants. I got this particular one. This is my rubber plant, and it's also called a Ficus Elastica. I hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I will edit this out. But it is one of my plants that I have found the easiest to maintain. I actually had two rubber plants. I had this one, and I love the color. It's like a deep green-ish, and then there's like a reddish undertone. This one excites me a lot. When I come downstairs, like to kind of look at all my plants, seeing to them, touch them. This is the one that always surprises me, just because there's always a new leaf forming. So if you're ever looking for a plant that is easy to possibly take care of, in my eyes, this one, the rubber plant. There's different colors. The other one that I have is it was like a pale greenish color, and then it has like this very dark pinkish. When a new leaf is forming, it has like this little dark pink color that comes with it. At the moment, that plant is with its plant dad. So right now I just have this one. And then, so I got two rubber plants initially. And then I think one of the things that I have found with my plants, and I think it's been helpful. If you're ever looking for something to help with just getting back on track in some way, this was helpful for me in just starting a routine back up and really just getting myself back to a place where I could recognize like who I was, what I was about, getting back to what I know, what things mattered, what things were important. The routine that I started initially with my orchid is something that I have kept up to now, and it's been some years. So when I wake up, once I look through my phone and everything else, and I come into the space where my plants are at, it is always, I will walk around to each plant, I will hum, I will sing, I will rub them, and I just touch them, just making sure that they're just doing okay, and they know that I'm present, because they can feel you. I've heard and I've seen there's research out there, I believe, where your plants love listening to music, soothing music. you're listening to soothing music, your plant loves it too, and just growing. So know that, these things that you do for your plants, the things that you do for yourself in your home could also be helpful to your plants. So that is a routine that I feel like I've stuck with. I think it's something, if you are trying to build up a routine, start with that. Getting your plants getting into a routine where you're watering every week or whatever your plant needs, getting into the habit of checking in on your plants, because that's important. But yeah, that's kind of what I have found beneficial for me. There have been studies with certain plants that just the whole rubbing your plants, it can be a very calming and peaceful, can create that calming and peaceful effect. So do that. If you're having a bad day, if you don't have an animal, go rub your plants. And the study that was done that looked at this was looking at a plants called a pothos. And the pothos that I have this is a pothos right here, and then this is also a pothos here. So this is the neon pothos, and this is the marble pothos. And the nickname that these particular plants have is that they are called the devil's ivy, in that it's very hard for you to kill them. So if you ever want another easy plant, maybe these are the way to go. Okay, let me sit this way. I'm getting a little uncomfortable. Okay, so actually let me be comfortable and do this. Okay, so with the pothos, like I said, they have a nickname. They're a tropical plant. I don't know if I said the name, marble and neon. I also have another marble over there. Yeah, they're very easy to take care of if you're needing to know about a plant to help. But these are the plants that when participants in this particular research study, they rubbed them, it created that calming and peaceful effect for them, which was really cool. And I think it's nice, like all plants, they look a little bit differently. So having them spread around in different areas of your house, I think it's a very refreshing experience. It's nice to come upstairs from a long day just to kind of see like your plants just chilling and giving some color to your space. But yeah, the pothos, it's what I basically with this one, with both or all of them, water them once a week. Very easy to maintain, and that is all the advice that I have for that one. They also get mistaken for something called a philodendron, which is this particular, it's this particular plant right here. There are a little bit of similarities. I have read that how they grow is a little bit differently. I have read about it, but in explaining it, it's a little bit more of a challenge. So if you are looking for the difference, go ahead and Google it. It's the difference between a philodendron and a pothos, P-O-T-H-O-S. But yeah, with the philodendron, it's more of a heart-shaped leaf, and it's much more thinner and softer than your pothos plant. And I have that mini philodendron, and then I have another philodendron with her plant dad. So he has 3 of my plants. We're sharing custody. So one of the things that I recently read is just with the pandemic and everything that we've been through in the past year, there was a few studies that were done, self-reported surveys. I think one that I read, it was done, I think within 4 countries, and it really just surveyed people, really talking about outdoor greenery, talking about indoor plants, and also just being outdoors, having that space, having an outdoor space where you have nice trees, you have, flowers blooming, just having that to be able to look at, that's been helpful in just your mental health and well-being. Another, thing from the study that I read was just that participants, it was over 4,000 participants, and they mentioned that a majority of the participants who did have a houseplants, they just talked about the positive mood, and basically, 74% just really talked about how having indoor plants just improved how they felt. I feel like it says a lot, and I think before I moved into this space, one of the things that I don't know if you experienced this, but I was in a space that was really small, really tiny. I didn't have a balcony. I had some plants there, and it was just really tough. But just tough, and just being alone, and just having my plants. It was still had my routine of getting up and seeing my plants and doing what I needed to do. So I think that kept me going. But I think it would have been nice to also have a like an outdoor balcony. But here in my new space, I have a little bit more room, so one of the things for me that I've learned in my plant care journey, my plant mom journey, is that you have to do what works for you and the environment that you're in. And so whenever I do get a new plant, it's very important that I research, about the plant. I look for the name, and I also just kind of check on, how much lighting it needs. And I also check on, how much water does it need? And then from there, I kind of make adjustments as needed. And so I think what I have found is a majority of the plants that I do have need light. And you can also see with some, there are some plants that will lean over to the window because they want more light. So it's very interesting. You have to figure out what works for your plants. But I think it's always important to kind of research and then make adjustments as needed. So make those adjustments. And I think another important thing is also when you do get new plants, one thing I learned yesterday, but something I do is I repot. And what repotting is, for those that may not know, if you're a beginner, it's just making sure that you're putting you're adding new soil. You're putting your new plant into a new planter, a new thing. And for me, I do it because what I read and saw from other people that had plants is that you just want to make sure that you're giving your plant new soil. You don't know how old that soil is that this plant came in. You want to make sure that it's starting fresh with you. So repotting is important. One of the things that I have found beneficial in repotting is I usually get these plastic ones from Home Depot. Let me see if I can show you what they look like. But so I usually get these from Home Depot. I think it has this little bottom section to hold any additional water. And, sometimes that's helpful for plants that kind of just need that extra moisture. You always have a space that there's some extra water left over to kind of keep them hydrated. But I don't know, Office Depot has been a place where I have gotten these planters pretty cheap. And then also I always look for sales as well, because they also have plants on sale. So if you ever need to know what places to go to get your plants, I usually will go to my local nursery, but also I have found some pretty good plants at IKEA, of all places, Aldi. of all places. I think I have one plant that is no longer with me from Aldi, but I have another one that is thriving. You know, we're still trying to figure each other out. And then also, yeah, Home Depot. I'll just keep this here. This is like giving me the light that I need right now. So yeah, so those are the 3 places. Repotting your new plants. Another thing I learned yesterday was also keeping your new plants away from your current plants, like, you know, giving it a few days quarantine period, and, you know, making sure that it's okay, especially when you're bringing it from, you know, the store. You never know kind of what the soil is like. You don't know if there's gnats, there's anything growing. So you just want to make sure that you kind of you watch out for those things early on before you kind of put your new plant with your older plants. And something else that I figured out or learned about, you know, because one day I was sharing this with my family today. One day I do want to have a little sanctuary, a little greenhouse, so I would love to have a lot of plants everywhere in every room. And one of the main concerns I've always had with plants is gnats. There's other stuff that I think people talk about, but I think like spider mites, but I haven't had that issue yet, and I hope I don't. But with gnats, one of the things that I learned is helpful is putting some cinnamon in your soil. Don't act like I just didn't give you a tip to use. So if you're very concerned about gnats and you know, them growing in your soil and making some issues for your plants, sprinkle some cinnamon dust. Why did I call it cinnamon dust? Sprinkle some cinnamon in your soil. They don't like it, your soil likes it, but that's a helpful tip for you as a beginner plant mom. Isn't she lovely? Look, she's growing another one. Okay, all right, let me stop. Okay, so in addition to my plants that I've talked about, what else do I have? I think that this is another ficus that is, we're having a challenging time growing. All right, so this is my orchid. I had to redeem myself. So after my orchid that I tried to repot and that just died, it just wasn't the same. What I found is that with orchids, just keep them in the same pot that they came in. And the interesting thing with orchids is that, you know, make sure that you always, you know what season you bought your orchid in, because that's when it's going to bloom again. Like when all of these fall off, it's okay that it just sits there, or you can I've read that you can put it in a dark space. I still keep it in the window. My parents got this for me for my birthday in June, which is coming up, but they got this for me, and after a while, like all of these fell off, and then look, they're coming back again. What they say with orchids is that you can cut them to see if a new branch, stem is going to, maybe I'm saying that right, is going to grow. So I tried to cut it and it didn't happen, and so it kind of just started its own little thing right here. So yes, when your orchid, when everything falls off, I know I continue to water it. I don't really measure my watering, how much I water, but maybe like half a cup, just pour it in there. But I have a little pot to do that with. So yeah, this is what, from April, May-ish, it started blooming like this, which is exciting. Isn't it pretty? So yeah, that was my little orchid. But yeah, that's something that I have found, that remember what season you got it in, and you know, around that time it will bloom around that time again. Just continue to take care of it. And yes, the next plant that I have is a Pilea. Actually, okay, before I even go into that, I have 16 plants so far, want to get more. The next plant is a Pilea. That's also an easy plant to take care of. I think it's also coined or termed a Chinese money plant because I feel like it looks like little, I think little silver dollars, or they look like coins or round things, but they also, for me, they look like pepperonis. But this is a plant that they say it's easy to propagate. That's a term you may need to know. So you can just cut it off and put it in another vase and it can regrow, and it's good to share with friends and family. Look at me know it. I also have a ZZ plant, which I think is also an easy plant to have. And a new plant that I recently got, this one. This is called a Fiddle Leaf Fig. Look at how it's growing. But with this one as well, it's in the water, it's in the window. I hear a lot about people saying you put it in a south-facing window. I feel like I've tried that. I feel like that's where most of the plants are right now. But also I know for me, if my plant isn't thriving, I'm gonna move it. So I think the only issue I'm having with one plant is my money plant, where I don't know, it's just been browning and yellowing. If you have a money plant and you're having issues, or it's browning or yellowing and you know what's going on, please let me know, because I feel like I have researched and I have read about it, but it's still not happy. And yes, let's see, what else do I have? I have 2 monsteras. One I recently got from Home Depot. Once again, I think all of plants are easy to take care of. Very simple, stick your hand in the soil. If it's dry, water it. That's what I have found has worked for me. I know there are tools that people use to make sure that, you know, there is enough moisture, but that's what I use. My hand, my fingers, test it out. I don't measure anything. The only challenging plant that I have that I thought was a challenge, but it's been easy, it's a Maiden hair fern. I used to have one that was given to me as a gift, and I bought this one when I moved into my new space, and my boyfriend suggested putting water stakes in. So basically self-watering stakes that you can put into your planters. And it basically, there's a wire that you can put into a bowl of water. And so it continues to water this particular plant. With a Maiden hair fern, what I've found is that it needs it needs moisture, and it's something that you have to continue to water often. And I don't have time for that. Actually, I do, but then I just don't want to make a mistake. And so that self-watering plant or stake has been great. I can be gone for a week, a few weeks, actually a week, and it stays pretty good. And it's growing and thriving. So yeah, I have a Bella palm plant that's really been easy to take care of. And then I have an aloe vera plant. I think those were 16. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about the plants that I have, what has worked for me. I think I threw in a few tips for you. But also I wanted to just share those mental health benefits, what my story was, why I started, and what it helped me with. And I'm glad I still have my plants. I'm glad it's something I continue. Oh, and if you ever want really nice planters, TJ Maxx is always a place. You may have to search several TJ Maxx to find the one that has really nice potters to put your plants in. This was from Home Depot, but I feel like I want to get a little bit more, better one. But yeah.